Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Al Stock Trades. In this video, I wanted to make this quick live one here to talk about the CPI report. Now, if you're in the stock market and if you're watching this video real quick, it's very clear. You probably already heard about what's going on with the CPI. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you a little bit of pieces of data and kind of connect the pieces in what I think is going to unravel in the economy. Okay. So, and excuse my voice. I've been feeling under the weather lately, so my apologies. But as you can see here, the CPI data came in at 8.5%. Now we were expecting 8.7, which is great. It was below expectations. Again, we just came off of a high of 9.1% literally last month's report, right? For the month previous, right? So as you can see, the gasoline index fell around 7.7%. Okay. And this offset the increases for food and shelter. Okay. Now, this is all great, right? But you have to look at the context of it. You have an administration that's been flooding the markets with oil, and we don't know how long that's going to last. We still do not know the overall trajectory of Putin's war. And I'm not trying to hear. I'm not trying to sound bearish, but usually when I see other people a little bit overly optimistic, I tend to stand back and say, let's look at the data. Warren Buffett has been buying a lot of Oxy for the. I mean, he's been doing it silently. If you ask Joe Schmo, the average American is not going to know. So Warren Buffett, if people don't know, he's one of the greatest investors of our time. It's very clear, right? So he's been buying up Oxy, and he's been buying it at a pretty attractable price. And honestly, I think maybe $10 to $15 to $20 away from our price target from our intrinsic value calculation. And knowing him, he wouldn't do something like that if it wasn't completely undervalued, or at least he sees the pieces of the puzzle unraveling. So we could see an increase in CPI maybe in the future, but most definitely we could see an increase in the gasoline index. Furthermore, food and shelter, food is a big one. There could be some because with the whole global exports in Ukraine and all the issues associated with the grains and everything in that nature, this may still be affected. Likewise, shelter. Well, you guys have to understand the CPI data looks at surveys. It doesn't actually use the actual data, like data that we get that we use in real time. The government doesn't use that. Now, I don't know. I don't know why they don't use that. Maybe my hypothesis is for them to essentially decrease the amount of actual inflation so they don't pay out people that are historically marginalized, that are on Medicaid, Medicare, and food stamps and Social Securities and all these things, right? So, and these are the most vulnerable of our population, right? And as someone who's in healthcare, I'm full support of that, right? I don't like to put my opinions in here, but I would like to attach some type of put my DNA in here, right? But other than that, it's this report could go up, right? We don't know. So my response to the CPI data is great. This is great news. But I want to see at least 3-4 CPI reports before I make a conclusion, right? But the market's forward looking and the market's pre-anticipating this. So now let me walk you through some data, and let's walk through this really quickly here. So as you can see, every time we get a greater than 50-day average, we get a breather. Can we get a breather? Now, right now, we just basically got a breather within the S&P. Now, I told you guys about this a couple months ago. I said we're going to experience a bear market rally. We got 30-40% increases in a couple of our high growth stocks. Again, the data is good for people that are short-term traders, swing traders, or long-term investors. Usually when we get this, it's going to look pretty good. Now, again, it's very hard to analyze all this data. So you do some statistical analysis, and this is what you find. So for the SPY, 2 months after the specific signal, you get a median return of 2%. But it's around 63% of the time you get a win rate. What this is telling me is 6 months from now to 1 year later, especially a year later, we are going to see a win rate close to 31% for the S&P 500. Okay. Now, if you look at the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ, right, tech stocks, you can see the same scenario play out. Now, obviously, 2 months, it's a higher probability than 63. So you're going to get some positivity, which makes sense. The NASDAQ has been beat down a lot, especially in the current environment that we have. If you look at this, you can see that we could expect returns anywhere from 44 to 46% from the NASDAQ a year from today. Now, that's a big deal because, this is the NASDAQ's composed of so many stocks, big stocks. We're not talking about small caps. Now, if the NASDAQ goes up like this, right, if this is what we're seeing, well, then perhaps how is the smaller cap stocks going to go up? Like, for example, if Clover does become free cash flow positive and X, Y, and Z, how much is that going to go up, right? So that's the things that you have to keep in line. Likewise, I always like to be balanced in our channel. We can't just talk about stocks because it needs to be in relation to the bond market. So when we look at the 2-year treasury right now, it's dropped significantly down. Okay. So why do I care about the 2-year treasury? Why is that important? Well, very simply put, if you look at our recession sniper, which is part of our Al Stock Trades Mastering Stock Market course, what you can see here is that normally in a healthy economy, the 30-year pays you more than the 10-year, which pays you more than the 5-year, which pays you more than the 2-year. Now, what we've been experiencing lately is, let me just zoom in on the most here. We've been seeing that the 2-year is paying more than the 30-year and the 5-year and the 10-year. Okay. The 2 years up here. That does not work. When you invest in, let's say, a bond, or specifically, the longer you invest, you want to be paid more. I want to be paid more for investing my money and locking it up for 30 years than I do my 2-year. If my 2-year is paying more than my 30, then the bond market, which is crazy huge, right? If you think the stock market's huge, right? It's predicting that, hey, the outlook of the economy is bad. But now what we're seeing is with the CPI report, we're starting to see a drop within the 2-year treasury. This is what I want to see. Again, you got to, I'm giving you guys some juice. I'm giving you guys some energy here. This is good because I want to see this drop because I want my money to be higher on the 10-year than the freaking 2-year, which is why when we take whoever tells you we have an inverted yield curve, that's simply the 10-year minus the 2-year. Well, if the 2-year's up here and it's higher than the 10-year, then obviously you take the 10-year minus a higher 2-year, you're going to get a negative number, right? Which is why you get that inverted yield curve, right? So I'm giving you guys some education in the market. Hopefully, we're getting to new traders. I do see that we do have some, 19, 20-year-olds, but majority of our people that listen to us is they're in their 40s and 50s. So I'm happy that we attract, that population, right? So that's great. So that's what we're essentially, putting together right now, and it is dropping. So let me go ahead and answer these couple questions here. And so, let's go Clove. The hell with the downgrades. Yeah, so I actually downgraded Clover as well, and we're going to be talking about that next week. I'm going to make a really nice video explaining my downgrade. Now, don't worry, the price target is, it's going to drop, but it's not going to drop like drop, drop, right? But there are some red flags I want to point out, and I am adjusting the growth rates because I'm looking and I'm seeing that the company is not positioning itself to sustain an 80% plus growth rate. And we got to be ahead of the market, right? And that's what you got to do, okay? All right. Clover, back to 3. Hedges with these new game plan, no one buying into their fear BS. Well, hey, there's obviously and always will be manipulation within the market, right? But I have to say, according to our smart money, dumb money, a lot of dumb money's been buying right now. They've been buyers of this market. Smart money has eased up a little bit based on the data. Hello, bro. How are we doing, Clove? Is this a good idea to involve new CEO, Andrew? Hope we are on a pause. So, yeah, we'll talk about that next week, but just to briefly go over it. When you're running, you see, Vivek is great to run just a normal plain insurance company. But Andrew Toy gives you that technology feel. His background is in technology. It feels correct. If you want to truly run a technology company, you want it to be led by a technologist. So I welcome this news because I want someone who knows technology, who knows programming, to be the face of the company, right? That'll entice developers, X, Y, and Z. It'll show that, hey, this company actually puts values in developers. When the CEO is a developer, the CEO thinks like me. So then you'll attract more developers and X, Y, and so I think it's really good. I think it's really good. And the more closer we get to that developer technologist driven company, which is what they've been defining themselves as, the closer we get to operating like a SaaS, which will be beneficial with our gross profit rate, the margins, and associated also with our revenue multiple. Okay. So I know that was a mouthful. But anywho, this was a good 11-minute video. Again, if you guys love our analysis, if you want access to our data, we are updating our mastering and our stock alerts now. And check this out. We're going to be going ahead and we're going to be doing bi-monthly group Zoom calls, literally for 2 cups of coffee. You'll get access to that with 30 years of financial data, all of our analysis. But I felt like in order to utilize that data effectively, it would be very helpful for me to go on there and talk to you guys, and you tell me what stocks you want me to analyze, and I'll basically go ahead and show you my thought process, and that'll be so fast. That'll be so good. Anywho, that is my announcements. Let me go ahead and answer this one here. Hey Al, do you feel that Andrew will make this a SaaS quicker than? And that, yes, I really do, because again, the whole technologist driven company. Well, you can't have a normal Medicare guy, just a normal, just, I wouldn't say just a normal guy, just an investor running a company. It's like, oh, okay, it is what it is. But when you have like a CEO, when you have like the big guns as a technologist, then it's like, okay, that's a big deal. Like if you look at Elon Musk, he's on the floor. He can do physics. He can do engineering. He did it all. So it's like, hey, I want to work with someone like that because he understands me. It adds a culture, right? It adds a culture. And now it has that SaaS culture feel that like I'm, in sitting down, literally huddled up in a group of computers, programming. CEO can come around and say, oh, I see what you're doing here. That's a great job. I see this a lot with SaaS companies, like for example, Box, not Boxed, Box, ticker symbol BOX. Okay. Right. I like the CEO there, and that company, we were talking about it at 25, 26. Stock shot up at $30. In fact, I'm curious, what is it right now? Let's see. Curious, what is it right now? Yeah, 30. There it is. 30. We talked about it literally a couple well, we talked about it right around here. So that's a good 18% gain. Yeah, I like this company, and it's a SaaS. Okay. Anywho, uh, you just said you might be downgrading. I have invested a lot. Well, here's the thing. I'll explain more in my downgrade, but just a very quick. If you're on part of our Discord, just hover down to the Clover section, and I'll explain more of my analysis. But just very, very shortly, Clover growth rate, I'm anticipating it to be 35%, 37.5% in the next year. Again, we would have to see next year in order to see if it can beat 35%. Hopefully it's in the 50%. But it's in 30. If it's 35%, then the new price target range is anywhere between $18 to $37. And my price target dropped from, I want to say, what was it, $48 down to $25. Okay. All right. So that's essentially our price target. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm again, you just take it as a grain of salt. So I recommend you learning how to analyze a company and do your own due diligence on why I'm doing that, right? And we'll be explaining my reason, my methodologies next week. And yeah, I mean, it's okay. it's tough, Rob. You know what I mean? It's hard because this is a lot of money. I understand. You know what I mean? People, it's just tough. And with all this manipulation going, it's honestly sad that I have to. I'm gonna be kind of quite real with you guys. It's kind of sad, and I feel so upset at our educational system and our system as a whole that I have to take time away from my passion in medicine to build this software and to build all this to be able to help. Because I found that, and the reason why I'm doing this is I found that people uh, that have investments, that have assets, that have a certain amount of money tend to live longer, have less preventable diseases than that of the lower socioeconomic sector. So it's like, how can I be as a physician? If I understand this, I got to do something about it. So I understand. It's just sad that our country is like this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of manipulation and all that. And we have to turn to YouTube. There's another guy I like to listen to. Let me show you his who he is. I listen to this guy, Clear Value Tax. I like this guy. I watch all of his videos. I like him. He gives no BS. Sometimes I get like caught up with on the medical side, so this guy helps me stay up to date, and I think you should listen to him. He's really good. I really enjoy him, right? And again, he focuses on data. Okay. But other than that, I love each and every one of you guys. I try my best, to give you guys the best data, and I hope this was helpful. And yeah, God bless each and every one of you. I'll see you on the next one.